to our April Price Know-How Snippets. For those of you who are not familiar with this format, this is where we try to get relevant market information to you as quickly as we possibly can right at the start of the month. So we're going to talk about what's been happening to ethylene and propylene feedstocks. And to kick us off, I'm going to introduce Mike Boswell, our Managing Director, who's going to talk to you about what's been happening on oil and energy.
Thanks, Catherine. Certainly we're living in very interesting times. Geopolitical tensions along with COVID are really dominating the action in oil and energy. So the Russian invasion of Ukraine initially drove oil prices up very quickly and to relatively high levels. In fact, on the 8th of March, we hit about £729 per tonne for oil. We then saw concerns being raised with regard to COVID-19 affecting the Chinese economy. Prices slid back down by the 16th of March to about £568 a tonne. As we finished March, prices landed at about £599 a tonne. So a real mix of prices. Also in this, we need to think more about energy costs as well, because energy isn't necessarily coming directly from oil. There's also that risk of gas supply hitting Europe from Russia and being restricted, and that's also driving prices in terms of energy. And obviously polymer production and the production of monomers is relatively energy intensive, so we have this kind of double effect. In some markets, that's being reflected through the actual price of monomers. In other areas, we're seeing surcharges being applied to certain polymers, which are particularly energy intensive. I'm going to hand over back to Catherine now. She's going to talk more about feedstock and polymers. Catherine.
Thanks, Mike. Well, in terms of feedstock prices themselves, C2 settled at plus €230 per tonne for April. C3 slightly less, €225 per tonne. So big increases. It's quite difficult to say what impact that's actually had in terms of polymer prices, because some producers during the month of March chose to close their order books or to apply surcharges during the month. But if we go back to the very beginning of March, I would say that we've seen increases certainly in the range of £200 to £300 per tonne. So some producers reflecting that, as Mike said, in terms of a feedstock plus an energy cost surcharge. Being as it's right at the start of the month, we're a little bit uncertain in terms of how this will pass on to polymer prices. Certainly, most producers have announced increases around the £200 to £300 per tonne mark, but we do have some concerns about demand. As Mike previously mentioned, the COVID situation, particularly in China, could affect global demands. More locally, we have some concerns about the extent that price increases have already been pushed through. Prices are at very, very high levels. We know that our UK processors are also facing very high energy costs themselves. And for anyone involved in the UK packaging market, then there's now the packaging tax to contend with. So there's a lot of factors that could affect demand. And so we expect a really strong pushback from plastics processors in being able to absorb such high polymer prices. So, as I say, a little bit of uncertainty as to how this will translate through the month, but certainly as we stand at the start of the month, very, very strong indications of further price increases from the polymer producers.
Thanks, Catherine.
So there'll be more information as the month goes on in our regular Price Know-How monthly edition, and maybe the market situation will be a little bit clearer, but hopefully this has given you a little bit of guidance in terms of what's happening in the market right now. Thank you.